Hi, my name's James Cuniel, and over the next 10 minutes or so, we'll go through the enterprise tech funding rounds over the last 7 days. Really importantly, there is no AI this week. Huge surprise. However, a big round for an Aussie enterprise application suite. 2 databases also get funding, and of course, a little bit of cybersecurity. From $167 million to $18 million, we've got 5 companies to get through this week, so let's get going. A new Kangarunicorn, love it. Employment hero breezes past $1 billion valuation. They've raised a massive $167 million at a $1.37 billion valuation. Huge news for Aussie tech companies there, and it's awesome to see on the big world stage an Aussie company getting a massive round like that. So let's take a quick look at this new Kangarunicorn in Employment Hero. Now, focusing predominantly on the SME space, Employment Hero builds kind of like a modern HR and payroll stack. A whole bunch of extras around that though. Now, the competition is fierce in this sector, not just on a global scale with competition. There's also a bunch of local stories around this space as well. Now, looking through the solutions part of this, there's quite a lot there, quite a comprehensive stack from Employment Hero. Governance, payroll, a whole bunch around employee experience and engagement, remote employment, which is obviously huge these days. Sprinkling a little bit of AI there, love it. Now, I do like it when platforms come with kind of like an all-you-can-eat. There's quite a lot there. You don't have to mix and match. And this is more common in the SMB space. At the enterprise space, they start to get a bit more modular, and the price goes with that as well. So let's have a quick look. The big test on the pricing page. Okay, so quite modular pricing though. Actually, once you get into things, there's a bunch here. So if you go through these bits. Okay, so you're looking at HR and payroll, and you put those together, then you add on optional extras, and you compare a bit. This chatbot keeps bugging me. Whole bunch of feature comparisons. I mean, it's pretty good. It does frustrate me a little bit when you have to sort of build a little bit of a Lego creation around these offerings. I mean, this is specifically around sort of HCM, HR, people management software, and still it's just so modular. It makes it difficult to really understand, and you sort of don't know what you're doing and getting yourself into. I suppose the strategy here is it's a land and expand story. So you go basic to start with, you just test out the software, and over time you start to add this module and that module, and that's where the revenue starts to build up for them. I mean, look at all of these features. It's like never ending here. This is really comprehensive features page. Really comprehensive. Still going. There we go. Global teams, what's that? Global teams democratizes remote work, connecting the right people with the right businesses the right way. Okay, so they do employee of record as well. Interesting. Okay. Anyway, look, it's awesome to see an Aussie tech company smashing it out of the park with a huge valuation. Employment Hero has been on my radar for a little while now. They're not just sort of an emerging tech, but it's good to see them. Great to see around like that. Hopefully they can keep kicking goals. And I think they were talking about, hopefully being as big or bigger than Atlassian on the world stage one day. So good luck to them. Next one today is a company called Secure W2. I think that's how the name goes. They've raised a massive $80 million for their cybersecurity passwordless enablement platform. Let's have a little look at these guys and just check out what this password platform or passwordless platform really is about. So looking at the value proposition at the start of the first page or homepage of the website, it really is talking about these PKIs and radius authentication and device. So their passwordless security platform is really driven from a security and key sort of system focusing on the devices as a way to manage authentication. Now, passwords are actually a pretty average way to authenticate, right? They can be stolen, they can, people can take them through, faking websites and faking login forms and things like that. We've all seen those examples. This passwordless platform uses a bunch of certificates, uses the devices to authenticate, and that helps, I suppose, companies who are targeting that zero trust framework, right? So this is really part of their value proposition. Now, as you go through and you read a bit about this capability, there is actually quite a lot involved when you're looking at messing with authentication in your enterprise, like as a project, if you're going to be changing that in some way. That's not something you want to mess up. So there is a bit involved here, I'd imagine, for when you want to deploy this type of thing. Now, it is important. I think passwords are really, they've got a use case, but they shouldn't just be used for everything. I think these passwordless capabilities are going to be coming out more and more. I see it from a personal level, starting to use them a little bit, whether it's in my personal life or the business life. Yet there's still more that can happen around this space, and this is why there's a bit of funding going on here as well. So if you see here, check our prices. Let's click on that. This is clever. I went through this before. Okay, what solution are you looking for? Well, I need unmanaged BYO device onboarding. Okay, so bring your own device onboarding. Okay, next. Yep. Okay, good. Let's say I'm a medium business. Okay, good. Number of end user devices on this network. Well, we've got 250 employees with 250 devices. Next. Who should we send this to? Isn't that clever? Put your email in, send your little quote, and then obviously they'll set up a meeting with you, and off they go. I'm obviously not going to submit that today. Anyway, we'll keep an eye on this one because it is an interesting technology, and there's a lot more to happen in this space. I think there's been a lot of commentary around passwordless and that element of cybersecurity and identity and access management as well. Next company today is a database company. It is called Skyla DB, who have raised $43 million in a funding round. So they're a NoSQL database, if you think of DynamoDB from AWS or the sort of popular and common brand MongoDB as well. And this is kind of a crowded space. So it's interesting to see a bit of money going into here because, Mongo and Dynamo are not the only other places. There's a whole bunch of them. What they're starting to get to is really pushing the speeds and feeds of the database. Okay, so we can have a look at their value proposition. And as you can see, it sort of really talks to this close to the metal architecture, which I'm not really sure what that means. I'd imagine it means like not a lot of code or layers in the technology architecture between the memory, the CPU, and things that are processing the database transactions and the actual database software, which means you can get things like low latency and high operations per second. Now, again, these guys are open source, so there's an open source element to this, and then they're commercialized sort of those enterprise features like a cloud that it deploys on, monitoring, management, admin, those types of things, and that's how they commercialize this engine as well. Heaps of content on their website, all things database, NoSQL. Let's have a little look at the pricing. So the pricing is what you would probably expect in terms of cloud pricing, right? So read ops per second, write ops per second, you want to move those up and down, average item size, and then the total data set. So how much data you expect to store either on Google Cloud or AWS, and that will give you your estimate of your monthly costs there. So I suppose, when you're talking about speeds and feeds as your main value proposition, this is where you're really comparing yourself to your competition. And what is good, I haven't gone through it in detail, is there's benchmarks here somewhere. Here they are. So you can compare against different databases, Cassandra, DynamoDB, MongoDB, and then there's a whole bunch of other benchmarks there as well. I went through a few of them, and it was like orders of magnitude against a number of metrics, which is pretty impressive. And I think it was actually done by third parties, well, not just by them. So if you're in the market for this type of technology, and sort of throughput and latency are extremely important to you, check them out. They looked as though they had a good value proposition, and their statistics were pretty good, or their metrics were pretty good. Okay, the next one today is another database, 2 databases in 1 week. So this company is called Tile DB, and they have raised $34 million in a Series B. Now, Tile DB is an array database architecture. So this is most suitable for things like, large images or, data that is of the same nature or same type. And you have to sort of look at that data across huge sort of sets of it, right? So as an example of that, it might be research data or space observatory or Earth observatory, like satellite images. Really good databases for that type of thing. So if you jump onto their website, it's all around that type of, there's all these industries that work in that space. Defense, oil and gas, healthcare. Okay, so this is where their value prop really lies. It's a database, and it's a niche or a specific type of database, so it is quite technical. You wouldn't expect business users to come on here and sort of understand what's going on. Again, pushing that performance and cost benefit of their platform. Again, these guys are open source, and then they're commercializing sort of the wrappers around that, the deployment capabilities, management, monitoring, all those wonderful things. So let's have a look at the pricing. So they've kind of got these different university program, startup program, and then enterprise, which is kind of cool. I like how they have this startup, young companies need help, I suppose, and then they'll hopefully grow or blossom into enterprises. This is a little bit more technical, this pricing page, okay? It's talking about things like Jupyter notebooks, slicing, so, how often you want to slice. So if we look at slicing in terms of an array database, if you're taking Earth observatory images and you want to take a slice of that same image taken every 15 seconds or something like that, that's a 15-second slice, which is really important in specific industries to be like comparing over, time intervals and things like that. So, but you have to sort of really understand your application use case to be able to get an accurate price here. Anyway, cool company, quite technical, decent Series B. We'll keep an eye on them. Last company today is another Aussie one. It's a cybersecurity company called Darwinium. Darwinium have raised $18 million in a funding round. Now, what Darwinium do is really look at customer security or customer protection and fraud protection as well. So looking at the edge, looking at the web, looking at mobile apps where transactions are happening, and providing sort of security platform to monitor, trace, and identify those types of activities. So let's have a little look at their website. Now, what you'll notice is that they talk a little bit about this customer journey through here, which is kind of cool, so they're pulling pieces together, they're understanding what the customer journey looks like, and they're identifying anomalies, I suppose, with that. They've got a bit of AI sprinkled through there, but that mapping of that customer journey and expected behavior, I suppose, helps them reduce points of risk. Bit of a screenshot here. I'm not 100% sure what's going on with this one. It's talking about banking. These are obviously different sort of destination points or user journey. So you go to home page, they move to the paid details. It doesn't scream to me, though, how they actually then layer on, well, this is something that needs to be concerned. I just don't understand the security elements of this. It's more like customer journey stuff or web journeys, bits and pieces. So yeah, I probably would have expected a little bit more insights into how they then provide risk assessments or something like that. Anyway, we can see they're obviously, these are like high transactional online types of businesses: banking, e-commerce, fintech, gambling, and that's their target market. That's where most of these sort of issues occur. Now, I must say, this website's a little bit clunky. It doesn't work. It's smashing my browser, and it's a bit difficult to browse. So usage-based pricing, it doesn't really have pricing. So I'm not surprised by that. This is like an enterprise grade thing, and there's a bunch of different variables, I'd imagine, where they would need to price off this. Anyway, again, awesome to see a Aussie company getting funding in the cybersecurity space. Love to see it. And I think most of their investors were out of the US as well. So global stage type of spotlight there. Great to see. Anyway, that's it for this week. 5 companies ranging from 167 million to 18 million. Awesome tech. No AI though. Let's see what next week brings.